And I've realized over the years that there's merit into not being the smartest person in the room. So I have a habit of surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me.
Welcome back to the Faculty Factory podcast. And today's episode is one of our H3 series, a triple H, Habits and Hacks from Hopkins. And today we have Dr. Amir Manbachi. Hi, Amir.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for doing this with us. We've been talking about habits, things that we do in our careers around our leadership, what we've learned, routines, any practices that you put into place that, I started, discovering other people's habits and thought we need to, share the kind of cool stuff we do because there's so much wisdom in a group. I just wanted to put it out there and let's just share with the community. So what habits and hacks did you want to share today?
Thanks for having me. I've learned so much from Faculty Factory that, and you've brought so many gurus to these series that I may be repeating some of the stuff I've actually personally learned from others. But I guess one of my habits is listening to Faculty Factory and I would say other professional development things. So, Faculty Factory is one of my habits and routines. And, it's not the only one. I also listen to, I go to YouTube and, other things. I don't mean to say commercial names, but for example, the master class is something that I go there and I try to learn some of the things that are people even, stuff that I didn't necessarily learn in my PhD, how to talk to different people, different personalities, how to have negotiations, difficult conversations. And I think one of my main habits that, I've been trying to expand on is trying to learn the things that as life brings me challenges, I realized that I should have had those skill sets yesterday. And I think you've been a wonderful mentor to me since 2016. So I've learned a lot from you. And I think going from Faculty Factory to WAC sessions to the Junior Faculty Leadership Program, those are all examples of the first habit I wanted to talk about. So yeah. I'm too junior to give other people advice, but if there's one advice you can give to people who are even more junior than me is keep improving yourself, keep learning. There's so much you need to learn. Life is going to throw at you stones, so be prepared for it.
I love that you started off with taking advantage of learning new opportunities and YouTubes and masterclass and podcasts and the WAGs you mentioned, the writing accountability groups. And you said that you're junior and I've kind of skipped over introducing you because I know you so well and I've seen you and you do take advantage of all the courses we offer in the Office of Faculty Development and writing accountability groups and junior faculty leadership training programs. So I forgot to have you introduce yourself. So please, before you go on to the rest of your habits, why don't you tell folks your degrees and your affiliations because you are kind of a really cool background and you've got a lot of interesting connections across the Hopkins institution.
Sure. Thanks very much. So I guess I'm an engineer by training and, I'm an ultrasound engineer, biomedical engineer. And so when I did my PhD, after that, I went to Harvard to do, a postdoc and all my 3 degrees was at the University of Toronto. So after Toronto and Boston, I came here to Baltimore and Hopkins. And when I met you and I got introduced to the Office of Faculty Development, I was a faculty, but it was, a research faculty and then a lecturer, a teaching faculty. And I always wanted to kind of make an impact beyond just teaching. And teaching was amazing and is amazing. That keeps me awake in the middle of the night, the notion of nurturing the next generation. And I learned from them too, but I also wanted to do both research and teaching. And I guess what happened is, 3 years of working on myself, improving and, taking advantage of the resources Hopkins has to offer, especially Office of Faculty Development, I was able to get promoted to tenure track. So right now I'm an assistant professor of neurosurgery and biomedical engineering. My primary appointment is neurosurgery, which is an interesting mix. I mean, I'm actually very humbled that I'm the only engineer in a clinical department. And on a daily basis, I get to see different clinicians coming to me with their ideas, trusting me with what they have that may become the next big thing. And I guess from that point onward, I started working on different grants. I probably submitted about 40, 50 grants. I have a huge wall of shame, I would say, and got a lot of rejections. But despite the challenges of 2020, in terms of grants, it's been interesting for me. I've been fortunate enough to not only keep my job, but also get a good number of grants. I got a career development award by Institute for Clinical and Translational Research, a KO2 Research Scholar Award. That's an NIH source of money. We got a contract for about a year of NSF, National Science Foundation. And most recently, I teamed up with my mentor and now partner, and we submitted together a grant to Department of Defense, DARPA. We just got the news probably about a week or two ago that, we were approved to have a 5-year grant for about $13.5 million to basically build futuristic things, engineering devices for spinal cord injury patients. So going from rags to riches overnight, I guess.
Wow. Yeah, just another Hopkins slacker here on the podcast. Dr. Manbachi, $13.5 million, not too shabby. So what other habits and hacks would you like to share with the listening community out there? How can folks be as successful as you? What's made you so successful?
I guess if anything made me quote unquote successful, I would say it's kind of aligned with the first point I said, but a little different. So continuous learning, but also realizing the power of mentorship. The ability to have mentors and the ability to have people who champion for you. And from your workshops, I realized those are not necessarily the same people, but the ability to understand what are some of the things I need to learn and be able to seek out help. And I would say, this award, as much as worked day and night for it, the final award that I talked about, it's also mainly because of the people I've surrounded myself with. And I've realized over the years that there's merit into not being the smartest person in the room. So I have a habit of surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me. And from time to time, it feels uncomfortable because I want to be the least smart person in the room. But also, bringing together groups much like what you do, Kim, like the strong community you've brought together for faculty development. I think that has helped me in the long run to be successful. So I would say the second thing, it's probably 1.2, I would say, in addition to continuous learning, is mentorship. And there's another thing I wanted to share, and this is also along with line of, what Office of Faculty Development teaches us. And your book came WAG, Writing Accountability Groups. So I think early on, I would say probably about 3 years ago, I was exposed to this WAG. And, like the first time I, heard the term, it was like, WAG as in like dogs wagging versus barking. And when I read the more about it, the more I realized, wow, like this is such a important habit. And it became so second nature to me. And I formed, really good friendships. And, I probably am like so addicted to it that, I have 2 WAGs, and, it feels like cheating on your friends when I told them like, I'm doing a second WAG in the same week. And so what I do is that every week we get together, we hold each other accountable, and we basically tell them what we write, and, they tell us, did you do it? And, I think realizing that I'm going to take this quote from you, Kim, writing is my job, so do it every day, right? I guess that's been something I've always tried to stick with. And so, to kind of summarize these 2-3 habits, I would say the continuous learning, the mentorship, the writing, all those things, as well as some of the other things I've learned in, the junior faculty leadership program that I would love to talk about if, you want me to kind of continue going on this.
Go ahead, share some more habits. I'm sure people want to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. So I guess for somebody who's into his second year of being an assistant professor, I'm still like learning, what are some of my tasks, right? And what is it that I want to make out of it? Why am I here? And what are the expectations, and what can I make out of it that, keeps me awake in the middle of the night and kind of gives me that feeling that I'm making an impact. So as I was coming into this job, understandably, and obviously, I knew scholarship is one of my main jobs, and writing grants and, getting rejections and developing a tough skin is another job. Same thing with education, nurturing the next generation. So I would say scholarship, grant writing, and, education, none of them surprise me. Although, yes, at times it feels really hard when you get rejections for the wrong reasons, or there's so many times that I've said, it's just not fair. But you know what? It's life. We move on. But I guess, so those things I was expecting already. The other things that caught me by surprise was there's so many, I would say, people skills that none of my educations and degrees kind of prepared me for. And I guess, going to all these self-improving workshops and the junior faculty leadership program that you taught us, I think a lot of those things have helped me immensely. So for example, like I didn't realize if you were going to this job, like, if you have grants with multiple institutions, multi-year award, big amounts of money and full professors, and if I'm ultimately supposed to report to the funding agency and there are subcontractors, there's a little bit of a awkwardness in the fact that I'm the assistant professor, I'm the junior, but they kind of report to me, and not all the time I can tell them, what I want to tell them. So I have to gauge the water. And I realized, how important it is to deal with difficult people, having difficult conversations. And I didn't have all the answers. Like, what do you do when somebody talks over you? I guess all of us need to be equipped with those things. If somebody keeps talking over you, how do you kind of set those healthy boundaries and kind of have that empathy, but perhaps a tactile empathy, kind of say, I understand and I hear you, but here's what we need to do. It's not me. It's the requirement of what we signed up for. I guess all those things really matter. And if it wasn't for the type of workshops you have, for the self-improvement I've had, I would be kind of paralyzed. And I think one thing that sticks out is Myers-Briggs type indicator. So, early enough, like when we had the course, the workshops, I realized, well, sounds like I'm an ENFJ. And, at the beginning, there was a lot of enthusiasm. I was like, well, I was checking celebrities and I'm like this person and that person. It's exciting. But then I realized when I'm talking to difficult people or not necessarily difficult, it's not the people, it's the situation that is the adversary. People are coming from different backgrounds. They have different interests and have different job requirements than me to meet. So when I realized it's the situation that's the adversary, then I think one habit, going back to our habits, one habit I've developed is when I get into these difficult conversations, as soon as I want to open my mouth and just say the same thing I've probably said 3 times, I open my mouth and I'm like, oh, wait, I'm an ENFJ. What is this person or what may they be? Right. And if I can develop some of those patterns, and if this person is more of if they're a feeler, sensor, if they're more of a thinker or they perceive as opposed to judge, then I think I can, have a different argument with them, kind of bring up another type of argument in the conversation. I think that's helped me a lot. So thank you for that. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I would probably just say the same thing 10 times. The other person would probably say the same thing 10 times, which happens a lot and no results. I guess I'm not getting results yet completely. It's not perfect, but I think your teaching point and that class helped me kind of understand that as I try to speak, I say, wait, it's not about me. It's about the situation. It's about the other person too. Right. Kind of trying to understand where they come from.
Cool. You have another one for us?
Let me think about it.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot. I knew you had a list, and you've given us so many good things about continuous learning and mentoring. And I love how you said you want to surround yourself with the smartest people in the room. That's my thing too. I learned so much, like a sponge. And then you mentioned the WAGs, the writing accountability groups, and just people skills. I think that's really some important. And like you said too, you acknowledge nothing is perfect, and we don't always every day do the same thing perfectly. But this heightened awareness, I think, has certainly, obviously, I think helped support your incredible success in the short time you've been here at Hopkins.
Thank you. And I think one thing that also helped me a lot recently is trying to understand everybody's strengths and weaknesses. Not everybody's perfect, me included. And so I think expecting someone, whether they're trainees or leadership or peers, to do something your way, it means I'm probably not listening to them. It's probably not either the way because I say it so, or also maybe they're just not capable of doing the way I want them to do. So I think trying to understand others has been something I've been personally working on recently mostly. And I do have, now that I found my list again, I do have other habits I can talk about. I guess some of them are more personal as opposed to professional habits. And I know this may be a little bit of a repeat to what Dr. Youssef talked about, when he was talking about his own habits. So, when I get up, I think it's the runner of the day. So I guess Dr. Youssef was saying he exercises a lot. And sometimes I do that too. But for me, I think the lockdowns and the 2020 played a role in terms of, when you bring down the noise of everything else around you, trying to understand who you are all about. And I guess it's been taking me a few months to get into this habit, which I love. I hope I can sustain it. I get up and I meditate, for about 10, 20 minutes a day. And it's definitely been very helpful. It's definitely been making me a better listener. And so I do exercise, but probably not every day as much as I can. And, on a weekly basis, I try to keep up with some of the things I do on a personal level, going to therapy sessions, cooking, playing music, and keeping up with some of the habits I've had, like, even picking up the phone, calling people from different countries that I've been living at. Recently called some of my friends from Toronto from 5-10 years ago. And, I lived in Germany for a while. The ability to connect to people who I learned something from, we have good memories together. I think this whole pandemic has had its upside. It made me better. I've published more papers this year than other years. And, I was lucky with the grants that we talked about, and was also lucky to connect to others. And I realized it's probably a little entitled for me to say this in 2020 because people are dying and people are losing their jobs. So I guess I don't want to kind of brag about some of the accomplishments in 2020, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that even in the most dark days, we all may be able to find something that we love and we enjoy and we can make out of it. I've been very fortunate. So on my gratitude countdown, we have a lot of them to go through, but I guess, yes, those are some of the other habits that are more personal. I would say, the meditation, exercising, therapy, cooking, music, and also the professional development, the lessons that I've been continuing every day. So I guess all of those things are probably some of the good things I started in 2020, and I hope I can sustain it over the long term.
Thank you for your honesty, Amir. I just always admire your courage that you put everything out there, and you really are a testimony to the community spirit of supporting each other, and you get the right people in the right place with the right group, and wonderful things can happen. So you are really building some good teams, and I thank you so much for sharing your habits and hacks. How could people get in touch with you if they want to contact you and are just listening to the podcast and they maybe aren't on the website and can't see your email easily?
Absolutely. So my email address is Amir, Amir, Apple, Mary, iPhone, Robert, Amir, and then no space, no dot, no dash, Amir Man, M-A-N, Mary, Apple, Nancy. So amirman at jhu.edu. And I guess before I finish it, let me thank you, Kim. I could have not done what I have done, and I could have not been where I am without you and without other mentors like Dr. Brem, Dr. Theodore, my faculty mentors. And, it's been taking me 3 or 4 years of listening to your advice and coming to your workshops and classes and listening to the wonderful community I've built on Faculty Factory and trying to internalize some of those things. And, I needed, when I say if it wasn't for these things, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. So if anything, I'm grateful to you and all of my mentors.
Wow, that is so well said. You're very, very kind, very gracious. Friends, you've been listening to the Faculty Factory podcast. This is Dr. Amir Manbachi. You can reach him at amirman@jh.edu, and you'll see him on the Faculty Factory website too as well. So this has been another episode of the H3, the Triple H, Habits and Hacks from Hopkins. Tune in next time. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Manbachi.
Thank you, Kim. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Faculty Factory Podcast. The mission of the Faculty Factory is to build and support a community of leaders in faculty development who share tools, resources, wisdom, and encouragement in service to our faculty members, schools, and institutions. We encourage you to go to facultyfactory.org to find out more, get in touch with me, ask me any questions. Maybe you want to be interviewed on the podcast. Thanks for tuning in to Faculty Factory Podcast. We'll see you next time. The Faculty Factory podcast and website is sponsored by the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine Office of Faculty. For more information, visit facultyfactory.org.